Okay, picture this scenario. I know you've been there. I have definitely been there.
Oh, yeah.
You're sitting in this massive hotel ballroom. The air conditioning is cranked to like Arctic levels.
Right, the classic corporate summit atmosphere. I can feel the chill just thinking about it.
Totally. And the coffee in front of you is, you know, lukewarm at best. You're surrounded by maybe 500, maybe 1,000 of your colleagues. And the stakes, they're really high. Your company has spent an absolute fortune on this event.
We're talking venue rental, catering, all the flights and hotels.
A whole 9 yards.
But
So the CEO gets up on stage and he introduces the keynote speaker as a visionary, a game changer, someone who is going to completely revolutionize how you think about, I don't know, synergy.
Synergy, innovation, disruption, the usual buzzwords.
Exactly. So the music swells, the lights are flashing, the speaker bounds onto the stage, and then 20 minutes later, you just sort of look around the room.
And what do you see?
Half the audience is checking their email under the table. The other half is just staring blankly at a PowerPoint slide that looks like it's from 2018.
Oof. Yeah.
The talk is so generic, it's completely disconnected from your industry. It just feels like this canned speech they've given 100 times before.
That is the nightmare scenario. And it is painfully common.
It's the worst. You're sitting there and all you can think is, who on earth booked this person? And maybe more importantly, how much did we pay for this nap?
It's such a moment of total deflation for the whole room. But what's fascinating to me is that this specific moment, that flop on stage, it isn't just a case of bad entertainment.
Oh, it's more than that.
It's way more.
Yeah.
It's actually a symptom of a massive structural failure in a huge industry.
And that's exactly what we're unpacking today. We are looking at the global speaker market. And I have to say, I was honestly shocked by the scale of this thing.
What are we talking about?
This is a $2.5 billion industry.
$2.5 billion.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's not small change. This is a huge chunk of what people call the knowledge economy.
But here's the tension, right? This is the central problem we need to dig into today. We are living in an age of just complete information overload.
For sure.
There are thousands and thousands of speakers out there. I mean, every author, every ex-CEO, every person with a decent Twitter following thinks they're a keynote speaker now.
Right. The barrier to entry is basically zero.
Exactly. And yet, finding the right voice, the actual signal in all of that noise has somehow gotten harder, not easier.
It's the paradox of choice, effectively. We have access to literally everyone, but because of that, we have no idea who to actually trust.
So for today's deep dive, we're looking at a case study of a company that claims to have cracked this exact code. We're looking at a company called Scurati. That's speakercuration.com.
And they're pioneering something they call a hybrid curation model.
Hybrid cure.
Yeah, and I think it's important to be clear right off the bat. This isn't some kind of ad for them. We're just using them as a lens, really, to understand a major shift that's happening in this market.
A case study.
Exactly. Because what they're doing is, well, it's really interesting. They are trying to combine artificial intelligence with deep human expertise to fix what is, for all intents and purposes, a broken marketplace.
So we're really going to get into the weeds on this. We're going to talk about why the old guard, the traditional bureaus, are kind of incentivized to sell you the wrong person. We're going to look at something called semantic matching, which I know sounds a bit like sci-fi, but it's actually really cool tech.
It really is.
And we're going to break down this psychological trick they use called the 3+1 shortlist,
Right.
which I think can apply to, well, to way more than just booking speakers.
At its core, it's really a story about decision-making. How do we make good, clear decisions in a world that's just getting noisier and noisier?
Okay, so let's start with the landscape. You mentioned this chasm moment happening in the industry. So let's say I'm an event planner, maybe at a Fortune 500 company. I've got a budget. How have I traditionally found talent? What's the status quo?
Well, historically, you've really only had two main options. And Scurati's analysis, which I have to say is quite sharp on this point, argues that both of them are fundamentally flawed for the modern world.
Okay, lay them on me. What's option one?
Option one is what we're calling the old guard. This is your traditional speaker bureau.
Right, the big established agencies.
Exactly. Yeah. These institutions have been around for 50, 60, maybe even 70 years. It's a very high-touch, relationship-based model. You pick up the phone, you call an agent you trust, you tell them what you need, they send you a contract.
Which, I mean, that sounds fine, right? That's kind of how Hollywood works. It's how real estate works. You get an agent.
It sounds fine on the surface. It really does.
Yeah.
But you have to, as always, follow the money.
Ah,
There is a hidden structural flaw here that they call roster bias.
roster bias. Okay, break that down for me, because bias is a pretty loaded word.
It is, but here it's used in a very specific financial sense. Think of it like a car dealership.
Okay.
If you walk into a Ford dealership and you tell the salesperson, I need the absolute best, most reliable vehicle for my family, what are they going to show you?
A Ford,
Yeah.
obviously. A Ford Explorer or something.
Right. They're not going to say, you know what, a Toyota Highlander would actually be a better fit for your needs. It's down the street.
Never.
Never. Even if that Toyota is objectively better for your specific situation, that salesperson is going to sell you a Ford. And why?
Because that's what they have on the lot. That's their inventory.
And that is what they get paid to sell. It's that simple. Traditional speaker bureaus operate on a pretty hefty commission model, usually 20 to 30% of the speaker's fee.
Wow, okay.
But, and this is the absolute crucial part, they often represent a specific list or roster of speakers exclusively.
I think I see where this is going.
So let's play it out. Let's say you call a bureau agent. You say, I need an expert on the application of generative AI in the pharmaceutical supply chain.
That is a super specific, very nuanced request.
Very. So the agent looks at their exclusive roster. They scroll down their list. They don't have a specific supply chain AI expert,
Right.
but they do have a general futurist who talks about the magic of technology.
Okay.
And they also have a business guru who wrote a book about digital transformation back in, say, 2018.
So, not really what I asked for.
Not at all. But if that agent can convince you to book one of those two people, they make their 30% commission.
And if they're honest and say, actually, the best person for you is this independent professor over at MIT who isn't on our roster.
They make $0. They get nothing for solving your problem.
So the entire incentive structure is completely misaligned. They aren't truly motivated to solve my problem.
No.
They're motivated to clear their inventory.
That's the perfect way to put it. An inventory-first philosophy. They sell what they have on the shelf.
Yeah.
And this leads directly to that recycling effect we talked about at the top.
Right. You see the same handful of safe faces at every single conference.
Every conference.
Yeah.
And you start to wonder, are they really the best experts in the world? Or are they just the ones with the best representation?
That explains so much. I have definitely sat through keynotes where the speaker is incredibly polished, great teeth, perfect stage presence, but they say absolutely nothing of substance for an hour. It's because they're a product that's being sold, not a solution to a specific problem.
Precisely. And in a world that's demanding more and more transparency, this old black box model is just becoming harder and harder to justify. Clients want to know they are getting the best mind for the job, not just the most available product on the shelf.
Okay, so that's the old guard, Model A. It's biased. But we have the internet now. Surely option 2 is just going online and Googling it.
Yeah.
Or using one of those big platforms.
That is Model B. The digital marketplace, the anti-bureau, if you will.
Yeah.
And you can think of these platforms like the Airbnb or the Amazon as speakers. It's all about democratized access. You get tens of thousands of profiles all in one place, and it's mostly self-service.
Which, in theory, that sounds great. More choice is better, right? If the bureau is too restrictive and biased, then the marketplace should set us free.
You would think so. You really would. But this model introduces a completely new and in some ways more frustrating problem.
Which is?
Noise overload.
Ah, yes. The curse of the internet age.
It's a huge problem. The sources describe this perfectly. When you have, say, 20,000 speaker profiles on a single website, how are they sorted? When you type something into that search bar, how are they ranked?
I'm guessing algorithms.
Right, but what kind of algorithms? The dirty secret is that usually the ranking is based on search engine optimization, SEO.
So you're telling me the speaker who is best at gaming the system, at keyword stuffing their bio, gets to the top of the list?
That's exactly what happens. But being good at SEO is a completely different skill set from being good at commanding a stage for 60 minutes and delivering profound insights.
Not the same thing at all.
Not even close.
Yeah.
A speaker might have gamed the system to appear as the #1 result for innovation, but their actual talk might be 5 years out of date or incredibly shallow, or they might just be a terrible, unengaging public speaker.
Yeah.
The algorithm can't tell you that.
So for the poor event organizer, this isn't freedom. It's like trying to find a needle in a massive, noisy haystack.
It creates what psychologists call choice paralysis.
Yeah.
It's the more is more fallacy in action.
Right.
You're sitting there browsing thousands of profiles. You're watching all these slickly produced highlight reels which, by the way, are always edited to remove all the boring parts and the stumbles.
Of course.
And you just get completely overwhelmed. It creates immense decision pressure, not clarity.
And I bet that pressure leads to bad decisions. When you're overwhelmed, you just default to the easiest, safest looking option.
You default to transactional bookings. Your thinking shifts from strategic to logistical. It becomes, I just need a body on stage at 2 p.m. on Tuesday. This person looks okay. Their video's fine. Click book.
And that is exactly how you end up back in that ballroom with a bored audience checking their emails. So the marketplace model is great for volume, for choice, but it completely fails at what the source calls shaping a strategic moment.
So there you have it.
Okay.
You have the bureau, which is biased by its own inventory, and you have the marketplace, which is just noisy and chaotic. And this is the gap, this is the chasm that a company like Scurati is trying to fill.
Right. Enter the hybrid solution, human-led, AI-powered. Now, I have to be the skeptic here for a minute.
Please do.
Every single company in 2026 says they are AI-powered. My toaster is probably AI-powered at this point. Is this real, meaningful tech, or is it just a fancy buzzword on a marketing deck?
It's a very fair question. In a lot of cases, it is just a buzzword. But in this specific application, the distinction is actually grounded in how the search technology functions. They use something called semantic matching.
Okay, semantic matching. Explain that to me like I'm 5. How is that different from a normal keyword search on Google or one of these marketplaces? If I type in leadership, don't I just want people who talk about leadership?
Not necessarily.
Yeah.
And this is the key difference. A keyword search is what we call lexical.
Lexical.
It looks for a literal string of text. If you type in the word leadership, a normal database just scans 10,000 speaker bios and pulls up every single one that contains that exact word.
Which is probably all of them.
Pretty much every single one.
Yeah.
A Navy SEAL has leadership in his bio. A kindergarten teacher might have leadership. A convicted fraudster who's trying to rehabilitate his image might have leadership in his bio.
Right.
The search engine has no idea what the difference is. It just sees the letters, L-E-A-D-E-R.
So I get a list of 5,000 people, and I still have to do all the work of manually filtering the Navy SEAL from the fraudster.
Correct. Now, semantic AI, which uses some pretty complex tech like vector embeddings, it doesn't look for strings of characters. It looks for concepts and context.
Concepts and context.
Yeah. It maps the relationship between ideas. It understands nuance.
Give me a real-world example of how that would change the search result I get.
Okay, perfect. Let's say you represent a major international bank. You're planning a big internal summit. You don't just want a generic talk on innovation.
Definitely not.
If you search for innovation on a standard marketplace, you might get a tech bro from Silicon Valley, a marketing guru who talks about viral videos, or a celebrity chef talking about creative cooking.
All technically innovation, but totally different vibes, and I absolutely cannot put a celebrity chef in front of my board of compliance officers.
Exactly. So with semantic matching, you can be much more specific. You could type in a full sentence like, I need a speaker who understands innovation, but specifically in the context of ethical governance and risk management for a global financial institution.
Okay, that is a very complex sentence. No one's bio is going to have that exact phrase in it.
Precisely. A keyword search would choke on that and give you 0 results. But the semantic AI understands the meaning. It knows that ethical governance relates to concepts like compliance and regulation.
I see.
It knows that risk management in banking is a completely different world than risk in, say, extreme sports. It looks for speakers who discuss innovation as a form of infrastructure, not just as cool new gadgets.
So it's basically reading between the lines. It's inferring the actual intent behind my query, not just matching words.
It is. It analyzes the deeper thematic structures of a speaker's entire body of work, their books, transcripts of their past talks, academic papers, and Scurati applies this powerful search tool to a global, neutral pool of over 4,300 verified speakers.
And who is in that pool?
I mean, it's a serious list. We are talking Nobel laureates, Fortune 500 CEOs, Olympic champions, top academics, a really diverse and high-caliber group.
And the speed, that's where the AI really kicks in.
That's the AI-powered part. It reduces what would be weeks of manual research down to just minutes. Instead of a human agent flipping through a Rolodex or clicking through 100 pages of Google results, the system scans that massive global database almost instantly.
But wait a minute, let me stop you there. Didn't we just say that the big problem with the bureaus was roster bias? Does Scurati have its own roster? Because if they have this fancy AI, but they only point it to their own 50 speakers, are we just back at square one?
That is the million-dollar question.
Yeah.
And this is the key disruptor point in their model. Scurati is talent agnostic.
Talent agnostic.
They do not represent speakers exclusively. They don't have a stable of horses that they need to race to make their numbers.
So they genuinely don't care who I pick in the end.
They don't have internal quotas to meet. Their financial incentive and their loyalty is to the quality of the match, not to the inventory. If the AI determines that the absolute best person for your event is represented by a competitor bureau, or maybe they just represent themselves, Scurati will still recommend them.
Wow. That is a huge, huge shift in the business model.
Oh.
It turns them from a salesperson into a genuine consultant or an advisor.
It does, but, and this is very big, but AI isn't enough. You can't just let the algorithm run the whole show.
Right.
And this is where the hybrid part of hybrid curation comes in. We have to talk about what they call hybrid intelligence, or HI.
Because an AI, for all its power, can't tell you if a speaker is, a jerk to work with.
Or if they have really low energy on stage.
Mm-hmm.
Or if they just don't vibe with a certain corporate culture. AI can find a brilliant logical match. This person talks about topic X and your brief asks for topic X.
Yeah.
But it cannot judge resonance.
Resonance. I really like that word. It's the difference between a lecture that you sit through and an experience that actually changes you.
That's it exactly. So Scurati uses these expert human consultants people with, on average, 20 years of experience in this industry to validate everything the AI finds. They are the human in the loop.
So the AI does the heavy lifting, the impossible task of sorting through 4,000 names in a minute.
Yep.
And then the human expert steps in to ask the nuanced questions like, okay, this person is smart, but can they handle a tough, skeptical Q&A session from a room full of engineers?
Precisely. They check for all those hidden variables. For example, is this speaker maybe a little too aggressive or provocative for a very conservative, traditional board of directors?
Good point.
Or, here's a big one, have they worked with one of your direct competitors in the last 6 months? That's something an AI might easily miss, but a human consultant knows is an absolute deal breaker for many clients.
It reminds me of that quote I saw from the founder, Dogen Altendag. He said something like, speaker selection should be a moment of clarity, not a moment of stress.
And that's the whole goal of this hybrid system, to remove the anxiety from the process. You aren't just getting a raw list of names spat out by a machine. You are getting a vetted, curated, strategic recommendation.
Okay, so I want to pivot a bit from the tech to the delivery, because the how is cool, but the psychology of how they actually present these options to the client is what really caught my eye.
Yes. You're talking about the 3+1 shortlist.
Yes. Because normally if I ask an agency or a consultant for options on anything, what do I get? I get an email with like 10 or 20 links dumped in my inbox.
Right. Here you go. Have fun.
And I hate it. It just feels like I've been given homework.
Because that immediately triggers that choice paralysis we were just talking about.
Mm-hmm.
They're asking the client to do the final, hardest part of the filtering. Scurati does the opposite.
Mm-hmm.
They send what they call a decision-ready shortlist. Just 4 names.
4 names, that's it. That feels incredibly bold, almost risky.
It's designed to be precise. The first 3 names on that list are what they call the precision matches. These are the safe, superior choices. They hit every single requirement of your brief. They fit the budget. They're experts on the topic. They align with the audience demographic. If you pick any one of these 3, you are going to have a successful event. Period.
Okay, that makes sense. Those are the Ford sedans of the request. They're reliable. They're exactly what I asked for. But it's that +1 that I find so fascinating. The wild card.
The wild card is my favorite part of this entire model. It is a deliberately disruptive choice.
Tell me more about this. Why on earth would I want a disruptive choice if I'm planning a safe corporate event? I just told you my goal is not to get fired.
Because sometimes what you think you want isn't what you actually need. The wild card is specifically designed to break your established patterns of thinking. It offers a kind of structured second opinion.
Okay, you have to give us a concrete example of how this would work in practice.
Sure, let's stick with the corporate world. Let's say a big tech company is holding a summit on agility and structure. They need to teach their thousands of developers how to move faster, but still stay organized and not break things.
A very common challenge in tech.
Absolutely. So the brief they send out asks for a successful tech CEO who has scaled a startup from, say, 10 people to 10,000.
Logical. I want to hear from someone who has literally done the job.
Very logical. So the 3 precision matches will be 3 different excellent tech CEOs. But the wild card, the +1, Might be a world-renowned jazz musician.
A jazz musician. You want me to put a jazz musician in front of a room full of software engineers? That sounds like a disaster waiting to happen.
Does it? Or does it sound like an absolute masterclass in the topic? I mean, think about it. Who in the world knows more about agility and structure than a master jazz improviser?
Okay, go on.
They have to improvise constantly. That's agility. But they have to do it within a very strict musical framework of chords and timing. That's structure. The core lesson is identical, but the delivery mechanism is completely different and unexpected.
It wakes the audience up.
It completely wakes them up. It reframes the whole problem. It takes the concept out of their familiar tech silo and makes it universal.
I see. But let's be realistic. Most of the time, the client isn't going to pick the jazz musician, are they?
You're right. Probably 90% of the time, the corporate client isn't going to book the jazz player.
Yeah.
They'll go with one of the safe CEOs.
Yeah.
But even when it's not chosen, the wild card serves a vital strategic purpose.
Which is?
It forces a conversation.
Yeah.
It makes the client clarify what they really want.
It reveals their hidden assumptions.
Exactly. It reveals their blind spots. The client has to articulate why they don't want the musician. They might say, no, we don't want the musician because our audience needs to see hard data and spreadsheets. Okay, great. Now we've learned something crucial. We now know that you prioritize quantitative data over narrative storytelling.
So it moves the entire conversation up a level. It goes from just sourcing names to aligning on core strategy.
It's almost like a little bit of therapy for the event planner. What do you really want this speaker to achieve? And it builds confidence. When that planner presents the shortlist to their boss, they can say, here are the 3 safe bets that hit our brief perfectly, and here is one fascinating out-of-the-box idea to show we've explored all angles.
Oh.
It makes them look strategic, not just logistical.
It provides psychological safety for the decision. I love that. Okay, I want to pivot a bit to the, let's call it the unsexy stuff.
The operational details.
Yeah, because we can talk about jazz musicians and semantic AI all day, but at the end of the day, business is business, and this entire industry is notoriously murky.
It really is. Transparency is a massive issue.
The first thing that stood out to me in the source material was how Scurati handles fees. Usually in this industry, getting a price is impossible. You have to ask for a quote for every single person. It's like buying a lobster at a fancy restaurant. It just says market price.
Right. And that process wastes so much time for everyone involved. You fall in love with the speaker, you watch their TED Talk, you get your whole team excited, and then you finally get the quote and find out they are $50,000 over your budget.
It's so frustrating.
It is. So Scurati tries to create clarity right up front by publishing very clear fee ranges.
Let's break those down because I think it's actually fascinating for our listeners to get a peek behind the curtain and know what these people actually cost. What does it cost to get a real expert on a stage?
Sure. They categorize it into 4 main tiers. First, you have the sub-$25,000 range.
Okay.
These are usually what you'd call emerging experts. They could be academics, journalists, or niche specialists. They might not be famous household names, but they know their specific subject inside and out.
Got it. So that's your entry level for a truly professional speaker.
Then the next tier is $25K to $50K. This is really the sweet spot for a lot of corporate events. This is where you find your established keynote speakers and best-selling authors.
The pros.
The pros who do this for a living. They have a polished, tested 60-minute talk. They know how to work a room. This is a very reliable range.
Okay, and then it starts getting really serious.
It does. The next level up is $50K to $100. And we are talking about top management, visionaries, maybe a former CEO of a major global brand, people with serious name recognition within their industry.
And the top of the pyramid.
That's $100 plus. And this is what they call the white glove service.
White glove.
This is for your Nobel Prize winners, your former world leaders, global celebrities, the A-list.
It is absolutely wild to think about paying over $100,000 for a single hour on stage. That is serious, serious money.
It is, but you have to think about the return on investment. If you are a company like Google or Goldman Sachs and you're holding a global summit with your top clients, investors, and the world media watching,
right,
having a Nobel laureate on your stage sets a tone that almost nothing else can. It signals prestige. It signals that your company is playing at the highest possible level.
That makes sense. It's really a branding and positioning exercise as much as it is an educational one. And the interesting thing about Scurati's model is that the actual curation service, the AI search, the human vetting, the 3+1 shortlist, that part is free.
Correct. The entire curation and shortlist process is free until a booking is officially confirmed. This dramatically lowers the risk for the client. You get to see the quality of their thinking and the precision of the match before you ever have to commit a cent.
Now, you have to talk to me about the one contract policy, because anyone who has ever worked in corporate events knows the absolute pain of dealing with legal departments.
Oh, the legal web. It can be a nightmare. In the traditional model, it's not uncommon to have a contract with the bureau, then a separate contract or rider from the speaker themselves, maybe an NDA from the speaker's agency. It's a mess.
And everyone is trying to hide their commission and their fees in the fine print.
Exactly. The paperwork can be deliberately confusing. Scurati uses a single, transparent document, one contract. Client, speaker, Scurati. Everyone signs the same piece of paper.
And everyone knows who is getting paid what.
Everyone knows. It seems so simple, but in this industry, it's actually revolutionary.
What's the main benefit of that?
Well, first, it builds trust. But second, it just speeds everything up. You aren't bouncing red-line documents back and forth between 3 different legal teams for weeks on end. The procurement manager, the person who actually has to cut the check, they absolutely love this. It's clean.
And then there is the backup guarantee, which, in the volatile world we live in today, feels pretty essential.
It's absolutely essential. We live in a world of constant disruption. Flights get canceled for weather, people get sick, and increasingly, geopolitical crises happen.
That's a good point.
Imagine you've booked a top geopolitical expert for your annual conference, and a war breaks out in the region they cover the day before your event.
Oh, no.
That expert is going to get pulled onto CNN or into a government briefing. They are going to cancel on you.
And you are in total panic mode. You have 1,000 people arriving and a giant hole in your schedule.
Right. So Scurati provides pre-vetted backups. And not just a random list of other names, but specific people they know are available, on topic, and ready to step in at a moment's notice. It's basically insurance for the event planner's biggest nightmare. It's about accountability.
It really emphasizes that shift in thinking you mentioned, from the speaker being entertainment to being strategic infrastructure.
Exactly.
If the entertainment cancels, it's a bummer. But if a core piece of your infrastructure fails, the whole operation can grind to a halt.
And that connects perfectly to the next layer of this model, which is the focus on intellectual depth. We are seeing this big shift where speakers are viewed less as performers and more as temporary consultants.
Temporary consultants. I really like that framing. They aren't just there to make us laugh or give a motivational speech. They're there to solve a specific, high-level problem.
And Scurati leans into this. They don't just book individual people. They actively synthesize trends. They produce these internal deep dives, basically strategic papers, that analyze major global issues.
The outline mentioned a few of these. One was called Geopolitical Disorder 2026. That sounds pretty ominous, but also very necessary.
Extremely necessary.
Yeah.
Boards of directors and C-suites are struggling to navigate a world that feels more fragmented and unpredictable than ever.
For sure.
So Scurati will synthesize the views from the real heavy hitters in that space. People like Ian Bremmer, John Mearheimer, Parag Khanna, they curate a central thesis on the state of the world, and then they find the specific speakers who can deliver different facets of that thesis to a leadership team.
So it flips the script. Instead of the client saying, find me a politics guy, the client says, help us understand our supply chain risk in the South China Sea.
Yes.
And Scurati comes back and says, here is our deep dive on that exact issue, and here are the 3 people in the world who can explain it best.
That's it. The speech becomes a high-level risk assessment briefing. Another one they focus on is AI as infrastructure.
Moving beyond the hype.
Way beyond the hype of AI is cool. This is about responsible AI and competitive advantage, the real nuts and bolts. They draw on figures like Amy Webb. Companies are terrified of being left behind by AI. They need someone to show them a practical roadmap, not just the cool scenery.
And there was a third one, disruptive innovation, with people like Jim Carroll. It's all about real substance, not just performance.
It completely transforms the speaker from a sage on the stage to a genuine strategic partner. For that fee, you are essentially downloading a world-class worldview directly into your executive team for 60 to 90 minutes.
So let's talk about the user. Who is this actually for? We've talked a lot about the frantic event planner, but the source material lists something like 23 different buyer personas. Who are the real power users of a service like this?
It's a surprisingly diverse group, which I think is telling. You have the overloaded event planner, obviously.
The classic case.
Right. They are just drowning in logistics menus, seating charts, AV checks, and they desperately need speed and reliability. They need that vetted shortlist yesterday.
Been there. Just give me the names.
But then, on the other end of the spectrum, you have the strategic CEO. They aren't looking for logistical support. They're looking for transformation.
A totally different need.
Totally. They need to find a voice so powerful it can align their entire global workforce behind a new, difficult vision. They're essentially buying leadership capital. The stakes are immense.
And you've also got the head of innovation.
Yes. This is the person who specifically wants the wild card. They are actively looking to shake things up. Their job is to bring in outside perspectives. They want the jazz musician or the philosopher to come in and tell the engineers that they're thinking about the problem all wrong.
They're buying disruption.
They're buying sanctioned disruption. And let's not forget the procurement manager.
The unsung hero of every corporation.
The unsung hero. They probably don't care about the jazz musician or the CEO's vision, but they absolutely love the one contract policy. They care that the paperwork is clean, the fees are transparent, and the risk is properly mitigated. It ticks all their boxes.
It really seems like Scurati has taken the time to map out the entire ecosystem. They understand that the phrase booking a speaker means something radically different to every single stakeholder involved.
It's a very mature approach to the market. It's an acknowledgement that the knowledge economy has grown up. It's not just a circus sideshow anymore. It's a serious strategic business function.
So let's try to bring it all together. We started with that nightmare scenario of the boring speaker in the cold ballroom. We looked at the two broken systems, the biased bureau on one hand and the noisy, chaotic marketplace on the other. And we've seen how this hybrid model, this blend of human and AI, tries to fix the core problems of both.
It's a really compelling case study in how a mature industry starts to evolve.
So what does this all mean for the listener? I mean, even if you aren't planning on booking a $100,000 speaker tomorrow, what's the big takeaway for your own life or business?
I think the central lesson is about the power of curation. We are all, in our own ways, drowning in noise. It doesn't matter if you're hiring a new employee, picking a new software vendor for your company, or just trying to decide what book to read next.
Right. We all suffer from choice paralysis on a daily basis.
And what this model suggests is that relying on just one system is flawed. Algorithm only is too noisy. It lacks soul. It gives you quantity, but it can't guarantee quality.
And human only.
Human only is too biased and it's too slow. It limits your view to what you already know. The future in almost every domain is hybrid. You need the data, the AI, to widen your net, to find those amazing options you didn't even know existed.
Yeah.
But then you need sharp human judgment to filter for quality, for cultural fit, for that resonance we talked about.
And I would add the 3+1 concept to that as a practical tool.
Oh, absolutely. That's a powerful mental model.
I'm genuinely going to try and use that. The next time I have to make a big decision, buying a car, planning a family vacation, whatever, I'm going to try to find 3 logical, safe options and 1 total wild card.
Just to test your assumptions.
Exactly. Just to force myself to ask, what if I'm looking at this problem completely wrong?
It's a brilliant mental model for life. Always look for the option that scares you just a little bit. That's usually where the real growth is. That's where the aha moments tend to happen.
I love that. Okay, here is a final provocative thought for you to chew on as we wrap up.
Let's hear it.
As AI gets better and better, and it's getting better exponentially fast, we can already generate text, we can generate photorealistic images, we can generate voices.
We're pretty much there.
Yeah.
You can create a deepfake avatar that can give a flawless TED Talk in 50 different languages.
Exactly. So, as that capability becomes free and abundant, what happens to the value of the real human speaker? Does it go to zero? Or does it go through the roof?
That is the big question, isn't it? I think Scurati's model would argue, and I tend to agree with him, that in an increasingly synthetic world, a verified, authentic human connection becomes the ultimate luxury product.
The ultimate luxury, not the information, but the connection.
The connection. Real sweat, real nerves, real presence. We won't pay for information anymore. Information is already becoming a free commodity. We will pay for connection. We will pay to be in a room with another authentic human being who has actually lived through something extraordinary and can look us in the eye and tell us their truth. And that is something an algorithm, no matter how good it gets, still can't quite replicate.
A fascinating place to leave it. That's our deep dive on finding the signal in the noise. Thanks for listening, and we'll catch you on the next one.